Welcome back, Guardian. Thanks for tuning in. So today's build is a prime example of how amazing a build can be when you balance it right, you get the right amount of stat, you get the right amount of discipline, nothing is wasted, everything times out perfectly, and there is no more room to make it better or worse, basically. And that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go with the exotic first, then I'm going to explain the subclass and some must-have things to make this build work precisely to keep you beasts and champions and be able to summon 10-second grenades. And it all involves the 6th Coyote, getting that second dodge. It doesn't sound like much, it's a pretty basic exotic, but when you mix in Enhanced Bomber, the Bottom Tree Void, Gambler's Dodge, and Oppressive Darkness with a tier 7 grenade, and having your mobility and your recovery at 7 and up as well, this thing is an absolute monster, and I don't think when it comes to slaying champions or just adds in general, there's a better build in PvE soloing when it comes to hunters. However, the Wormhusk Crown is a good exotic, and I think that one's great too, but there is just something insane and broken about this exotic, and it does involve Gambler's Dodge. I've never used the other dodge that reloads weapons. I've always found this one more useful because I'd rather save a minute or more on my melee charge than a second or more by reloading a weapon. That's just me. I just think Gambler's Dodge is the way to go, but it's a must-have on this build, so have that on and either have Vortex Grenade or the Void Wall Grenade. But if I have the choice, I'd rather go Vortex. It's a more direct grenade. You know exactly where it's going to be going off. It doesn't stray off in some random direction, and you can stand inside of it. But let's move on to the Bottom Tree Void. So Vanish and Smoke, whenever you do this to yourself or to allies, you get Heart of the Pack, which buffs all your stats and gives you weapon haste. And it also gives you your own recharge back off of your grenade, which is 7 seconds, every time you throw it at your feet using Combat Provision. It says making allies invisible grants grenade energy, but you can do it to yourself and it still gives you that 7 seconds off your grenade. And then when you have lockdown, it's like having sun bracers because your grenade lasts twice as long and so does your invisibility. Here's an example of this right here. Pay attention to my grenade recharge right here every time I throw my invisibility down and when I do my dodge with that Enhanced Bomber. So I'm going to throw the smoke at my feet, that tops my grenade off with that 7 seconds, and then I throw the grenade down, which burns twice as long, and I have Heart of the Pack giving me hella strafe abilities, making me super quick. Then I do my dodge again, and I'm also using Impact Induction, and then I get my grenade back by that 7 seconds, hit the Impact Induction, and then voila, another grenade within 10 to 12 seconds. And then watch how I proc the Oppressive Darkness twice on this Overload champion. So he's already walked out of it, now he's about to walk back into it because the grenade lasts around 8 seconds, so I'm able to proc it twice on him. That's how beast and important that subclass is, and when you have it built out right. So don't think that you can just put on 6th Coyote in the Bottom Tree Void and it's automatically going to just be magical like this. You have to build it out a certain way. And then of course we have Mobius Quiver, which isn't my favorite super on the Hunter, but since I have to use it with Heart of the Pack and the other things, I don't really get a choice on it. I wish we could do different nodes and things like that where I could pick the super that I want to go with the subclass perks, but it is what it is. I don't really use that super a lot of the time. It's a decent super, but the ability to summon a grenade with this class, such as right here, I throw the invisibility down, I do the Gambler's Dodge, I throw the invisibility down again, and I automatically have my grenade back, ready to take that Overload champion down and get that bonus damage with the Oppressive Darkness. We'll come back to all that, but first let's talk about the stats and how you can farm out the menagerie gear. So I'm using the collection tab, 6th Coyote, so anybody can farm this gear out. You do need to get the right kind of stats to build it out, but after it's all masterworked, it'll be a 7-3-7-7-3-2 build, so 7 mobility, 6 plus traction. You'll add 8 points to everything you see, because there's 4 pieces that I still need to masterwork. So I'll have 7 mobility, 7 recovery, the 7 discipline, which is the perfect amount. That means that I'll have no pause between my grenade whenever I do the dodge and throw the invisibility down and do that combo. But when I'm at the 6th tier, I do have a slight delay in my grenades sometimes, but having the 7 will completely close that gap and I'll have non-stop grenades whenever I want them. And since we're using the Gambler's Dodge, we don't need to focus on any strength, and the intellect and the resilience don't really matter. They're still going to be the tier 3, but it is what it is. Now let's talk about the armor and how it's perfected with the Hive armor with the highest stats you can get with Menagerie armor. So 7-3-7-7-3-2 will be the max you can get if you're farming Menagerie gear. So take a screenshot of this, and then when you're farming the Menagerie, copy the stats as close as you see it right here, because if you're using the collection tab also for your 6th Coyote, you'll be able to make this exact same build, and you will get a lot of repeat stats rolled from the Menagerie. I've seen a ton of different stats, and I know the combinations that you can get with them, and you can definitely get the ones you see. It's not as random as you think it is. You'll still be able to get it, and having all those Hive mods to go with all those Oppressive Darkness grenades, you really just need Hive armaments and Hive repurposing. And then I'm also using impact induction. And then on the chest piece, you'll be able to do breach refractor and overload grenade at the same time because we're using a mobility mod on the chest piece. But make sure you have enhanced bomber, that way you get the 10 seconds off of your dodge, and then copy the other stats as close as you can. I'm not finished building it, but it's enough to where I can make a video and you can see it and copy it close enough. Now let's take a look at the build all put together, and I'll show you how you can use this to where you can summon grenades whenever you want to. But keep in mind that I am at a tier 6 here, and I'll point out whenever I have that slight delay in my grenade recharge that I'm talking about. There's literally no reason to go above a tier 7 grenade, as I'll show you right here with the tier 6. So we throw the grenade, we do our dodge near enemy, so we get our invisibility back, we throw it at our feet, and while we're invisible, we're going to go near another ad to do our dodge again to get the 10 seconds and to reproc the gambler's dodge, and then voila, there's a 12-second grenade at tier 6, but it would be a 10-second grenade if we were at tier 7. Here I am using the Mobius Quiver. If you're ever in a tough situation like this, make sure you save some of your super left so you have a little bit of armor to get away. So I'll walk back over here, I do my dodge, I throw the invisibility down, and then I use my invisibility to walk towards the ad to proc the invisibility with Gambler's Dodge again, to then throw it at my feet, and there was that little slight delay that you just saw. I'll show you more of these delays as it keeps playing along, but you basically just keep doing this over and over. Every time you go invisible, you find another ad to proc Gambler's Dodge against, and then you go and throw the invisibility back down at your feet, and then do the same process over and over again as you see right here. You'll see that slight delay that happens. I throw the invisibility down, and then you see my grenade is still not quite there, but the tier 7 would have sealed that off, and it would have given it to me back without that delay. It also might seem like you won't need 7 mobility and 7 recovery because of the heart of the pack, but keep in mind when you're with the fire team, the pace of everything kind of changes, and you won't be able to control the pace that you're going at, and there are going to be situations where you're not going to have heart of the pack, and that's where that mobility and recovery is going to pay off. I'm going to do that same process now against this Hydra, so I throw the smoke down, I do the dodge near him, then I throw the smoke down again, then I get my grenade back, and then I down this dude. Also, don't pay attention to that ridiculous time on my Nightfall timer. I just used this Nightfall for practice and for the build video, so I spent a ton of time in here just playing and tuning things just to make sure that it was all right. So you're basically seeing a lot of test footage here, but watch how it just controls every situation versus these champions by doing that process of throwing the smoke down and doing the dodge over and over again. I really feel like this is a broken exotic, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bungie nerfs it to where you can't proc it on yourself and get that grenade recharge, which I hope they don't. Please don't do that, Bungie, but watch the situation against these goblins. You just jump right in the middle of them, and the most broken thing about it is you're invisible most of the time because you keep getting the Gambler Dodge invisibility back, so you can just keep proccing all your abilities and control every champion in every ad situation because of this. If you didn't notice it on the pick earlier, I am using 1 Paragon mod. I did try it with 2, but I got no benefit by having 2. Of course, it did give me 3 seconds faster on my dodge, but the way that situations play out with this build and the rhythm of everything, having that 3 seconds extra wasn't ever needed. There was no situation where I actually needed it, basically, and having the 1 with the tier 7 grenade and how things are balanced and how you have to put things in a specific order because of the room that you have to work with. Having the tier 7 is perfect. Having the 1 Paragon mod is perfect. The only problem right now is that I don't have everything masterwork, so I'm not at the 7 mobility, 7 recovery, and still suffering at that 6 discipline, even though it doesn't seem like I'm suffering because things are coming back rather quickly. I did play with this build when it was at a 7 because I originally had it to where it was at a tier 7 and then it would have been a tier 8 when it's masterworked, but I kept noticing tier 7 was perfect. So then I dropped it down to where I was at a 6, but then after I masterworked it, it'll be a 7 tier, and that was when I started noticing that little bit of a gap. So that's how I know that 7 is perfect with the way things work out. There's literally nothing I will change on this build based on what it'll be after masterworking it because I have all the Hive mods, and when there's not Hive and I don't need those mods, that leaves me with extra room to use reserves and scavengers and the leg pieces and stuff, so there's really nothing else you can do to this build. I could have already killed this overload champion, and you can see that because of the grenade lasting longer, I actually threw the grenade at those goblins, but then that guy walked into it about 4 seconds later, and that's the cool thing about lockdown is you get those long lasting grenades, which is a ton of damage when it's burning for 8 seconds. But what I really love about this build is it's the overall control that I have versus any other build that I could be putting on because of all the invisibility options that I have and that heart of the pack and the recharge rates. I mean, everything that you want in a build is right here, and it doesn't matter what weapons you use. So if you still don't want to use a fusion rifle, or if you wanted to use Ariana's Vow, you know, whatever role that you want to play, you can roll with ad clear weapons or boss melt weapons. Telesto is shredding. When it comes to energy weapons, Jotun, Telesto, and Ariana's Vow are probably the 3 most favorite weapons that I'm using right now when it comes to higher tier activities. But I don't really like to use Ariana's that much unless I have to. I really like to use fusion rifles, explosive round hand cannons, and of course the quick launch alloy casing field prep cluster sleepless god roll, which is just one of the most amazing heavy weapons in the entire game, but only with that roll. Watch the situation where I throw the grenade, go invisible, do the dodge, go invisible again, do another dodge, and then go invisible again. Voila, grenade back. Insane, dude. This is what's so clutch about that build, is just being able to summon a grenade from nothing just by having those 2 simple dodges. But you pretty much get it, man. I can show you these situations all freaking day. I actually did have a ton of footage recorded for it. I actually had to cut down a lot of the video. That's why I didn't go through each individual piece, because the video was getting to like 25 minutes long at that point. I had to cut a ton of stuff out. But I know there's a lot of people trying to make best solo builds and things right now, and I really just don't think you can beat this build when it comes down to building it out right. I know that grinding can be a hell of a chore, especially when you're doing menagerie back to back to back, but when you finally get it all put together, you're going to feel like you have a monstrous build on, and it's a lot better than just throwing this exotic on and throwing enhanced bomber on. It does work, but not nearly as good as when you have it balanced out at that tier 7 on perfecto mode as well to go to Beast Town. But I appreciate you Guardians for viewing. You can also share this video to help grow the channel, or join the Beast Squad, become an ultimate supporter, and help this channel thrive and get some truth out in that community. I always appreciate everything you Guardians do. teespring.com/Ristophilis if you want to get a souvenir or a keepsake, little Christmas present, or if you want to leave me a paypal.me/Ristophilis donation for a video shout out to help keep this channel going. I try to do what I can to help you Guardians out. Hopefully a lot of you get a lot of help from this. That way you can go and become Beast. But my name is Ristophilis. Hit that subscribe button, share this video, let other people get word, and I'll see you on the next video next time.
In space.